everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live, yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Okay, I ain't gonna lie. Y'all know I talk too much to lie because I won't even be able to remember it, but I didn't do my homework this week, so I don't have a real rant for you. My apologies. It's been busy. You know, I got that new day job, and it just keeps me busy. There's so many wonderful Democrats that I get to help all over the country now. So my apologies. But there are a few things I guess we could talk about. I mean, you know, we still are seeing, you know, Russia acting like a fool and, you know, people not happy. I did see where Josh Hawley decided he wants to attack the Supreme Court nominee, but I'm gonna need Josh Hawley to sit down somewhere because, you know, he still got some splaining to do. He still got some, what was he doing January 6th? Hello? So I don't have a rant really. So I tell you what, since I know Isak has to jump off at 7 o'clock, why don't we just jump into the interviews? So the cool part about Turn Left is that because we're remote and we can do this from all over the state, I can get candidates from everywhere, all 92 counties, and that excites me. Now I told you we have a primary in the 9th, so I'll try to get all those candidates on. I had the first one on, now I've got the second one on. My first guest is running for the 9th District Congressional seat. Y'all give it up for my man, Isak Asare. Did I get that right? I messed that up.
Close enough. I messed words, you know. So.
I messed that all the way up. We just talked about
it. Right. I'm Isak Asare.
Isak Asare. All right. Thank you. And my second guest, I've known her for a very long time. Every time I hang out down in Bloomington, I run into this young lady. She's decided to put her name, and she's got a primary race as well. She's running for Monroe County Recorder. Y'all give it up for Miss Amy Swain. Amy, welcome to the show. So, we're going to go ahead and start with Isak. Amy, you've been around the state. People kind of have an idea who you are. They know you a little bit. Isak, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Hey, everybody, and thank you so much for having me, Dana, and it's so good to see you, Amy. My name's Isak. As Dana said, I'm running for the 9th District U.S. House. I'm from Bloomington. I am a faculty member at Indiana University, where I direct our cybersecurity and global policy program. I'm also the executive director of the IU Cybersecurity Clinic, where we work from sort of the things that we're doing on campus. We sort of help communities that are low resourced to strengthen their cybersecurity posture. Graduated from IU, got married at Monroe, at Lake Monroe. Got baptized in Bloomington, so I am a Bloomington boy.
You're an IT geek?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
I didn't know that.
Mostly focused on, so I do cybersecurity, but also policy around emerging tech. So things like artificial intelligence, open data, stuff like that.
Absolutely, because policy around tech is important, especially when we have so many people wanting to and you're doing security, especially right now when we know, you know, the Russian bear is trying to hack and sack everything.
Yes.
That's pretty cool because I too am business tech. I have to like quantify that because people be wanting me to do stuff I can't do. you tell them you in IT, they think you can do everything.
Do everything.
No. So what made you get off into IT and security specifically?
That's a really good question, actually. So I was I did my master's in international development, but I wrote my thesis on decision making. So I was interested in how the decision making, the decisions that leaders make affects, you know, the process of development and policy formation and stuff like that. And so I was sort of interested in how people make those choices. But I have really good language skills. So my mom worked for the U.S. State Department, so we traveled around a whole lot. So, you know, I lived in 10 plus countries and so on. You know, story for another time. So I was on this team of people that were helping the government of Mexico think about some questions around emerging technology. So we were looking at open banking, we were looking at artificial intelligence and other things. But I was the only person on the team with language skills. And so I had to do hundreds of hours of interviews. And so this sort of ended up with us writing their national strategies and doing a lot of public policy. It was a really cool thing, but I ended up having to lead all of the research, right? And so they wrote, I was co-author of it, one of the first 10 public policies on artificial intelligence in the world. And so suddenly I was like, this guy who, like was this world expert on this, super niche topic. And so that from there, sort of the rest was history. So
I love it. I mean,
that's how I got into it.
Well, what's interesting is you are running, I think, for the perfect seat for your skill set. You were talking about international conversations. You're talking about cybersecurity and technology, and all of these things are at the forefront of everything that's happening in Washington right now. And I just think that is just like it's almost like a perfect fit. Like you saw the job description and said, okay, that's me.
But so you're right. I mean, in where our capacity right now to deal with these questions of emerging technology is close to zero. We can talk about that more later. But the real reason why I think I'm qualified for this, or the thing that why I threw my hat in the ring is because in history making times, I think we got to go back to basic principles, right? We should go back to our first principles. And what's our first principle is that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men were created equal and were given by their creator certain inalienable rights, and that our government is supposed to be a government of the people, by the people, for the people. But it seems to me in these history making times that all of those basic contract of what it means to be an American are either being questioned or are not in practice right now. And so, I have leukemia. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm still undergoing treatment. And, to me, it's about understanding and being totally dependent on the needs of the people in your district, right? And we're living in a time where 50,000 people in this district don't even have health insurance, right? Not to mention the hundreds of thousands others who have health insurance but are underinsured, and the hundreds of thousands others who have health insurance but still can't afford it, right? And so I know what it's like to be a sick man in America. And I think that that's something that a lot of people are dealing with and really want to see fixed. And so, I think, yes, topically, professionally, I bring something where I can contribute on day one when we get to Washington. But it's the lived experience that really is what drove me to this race.
And I think that is so important. Everything that you just mentioned right now, again, are all the things that matter to Hoosiers, the people that I talk to anyway. I mean, my goodness, we're going to dive a little bit more into that, but I want to go ahead and bring my second guest in. Amy, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Well, I'm a Hoosier. I'm a Flatlander, actually, because the glacier. Oh, yeah. You never heard of Flatlanders in Hoosier land?
No.
The glaciers stopped at Indianapolis. So from Indianapolis north, everything's flat. And then we've got these beautiful rolling hills down here in southern Indiana. So I moved here to go to school, to go to IU, got my business degree when I was 17. And I've been here.
17?
Yeah.
What you do, double up? I mean, my goodness.
No, I love Bloomington. I like Monroe County. It's a kind of a small, big town with all the cultural offerings and people from all over the world. And I just love meeting people from different cultures and different backgrounds. And I loved working at IU when I was at the Indiana Daily Student and got to work with students from all over the world, right alongside them. And it was amazing. And so, yeah, this is my home.
I love it. And first of all, I feel like I should have done my homework because apparently I'm hanging out with academics today and I was not ready.
Oh, no, not at all.
I love this. You know what? I'm loving the fact that both of you have, and Amy, I'm really directing this toward you. I'm loving the fact that we have two candidates who are, they're thinkers, right? It used to be our best and our brightest that we used to send into elected office, but now we've seen some not so bright individuals become elected. And I'm just loving the fact that you have this strong academic background. What made you want to get off into politics? I mean, you've been doing it for a long time. So what motivated you?
Well, I've really been doing it for a long time because I started in high school. My mom was a poll worker. She helped with absentee ballots. My dad actually ran for city council in my hometown. And through the YMCA, actually, there's a program that at that time called Youth in Government. And I actually served as parliamentarian of the House in the Indiana State House
Wow.
when I was in high school. So got my love of politics early.
I love it. I love it. And so what are some of the lessons that you've learned in your years of political space in Monroe County?
One, people can make a difference. Two, every vote counts. I've seen that when I ran for the township board down in Indian Creek. There was one, I ran with a team, and one of our team members did not win election by one vote.
Wow.
And so it does make a difference. So I hope everybody gets out this election season and votes and knows that their vote counts.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, Isak, we were talking about that a little earlier about access to the ballot. We're still seeing where we cannot get the John Lewis bill through
Right.
the Senate.
Right.
I know that you're going to the lower chamber, not the upper chamber, but talk to me about, you know, the importance of guaranteeing at the federal level access to the ballot.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's so simple. It's if we have a government that is by the people, it's by the people because of the ability to vote for the people that represent us. Our democracy depends on guaranteeing the right to vote. And what we're seeing right now is a retrenchment, not only of people's ability, you know, to vote. We're making it harder to get people registered, making it harder for people to show up. You know, I was just down in Jackson County 2 nights ago. And they've made fewer places for voting now, right?
Yeah.
They're sort of consolidating it all down into vote centers. That should concern us, right? We should be making it as easy as possible for people to vote, because that's also feeding into a lot of the polarization that we're seeing in our country. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if fewer people that vote, you know, the less people you need to serve. So, you know, that's a huge problem, and we really need to address it.
I like that line. The fewer people that vote, less people you have to serve. Amy, I know from a recorder's point of view, you don't actually impact the voter rolls and things like that. But as a recorder, my goodness, you have your hands on, literally on everything. Talk about what the recorder is responsible for and some of the things that you want to bring to the office.
Well, one of the things that I learned as well growing up and throughout my involvement with government here in Monroe County is that people can have an impact, and they can have a positive impact for good change. And so the recorder's office records documents. They're mostly to do with property, you know, glamorous things like sewer liens and mortgages and mechanics liens, deeds, transfers, easements, things like that. But they also do things like military discharges, the DD-214s. And so one of the things that's important is that you have a person that's got, that works well with people, you know, and that's been my background with the businesses that I've dealt with, you know, banks, financial institutions, mortgage companies, title search companies. Those all interact with the recorder's office. And that's a lot of my background. I mean, I've led departments of, you know, up to 50 people. So I had to do hiring and training. And I'm a big believer in leadership development because I want to lift others up. I want them to have the same chances that I had with the mentors that I had and the opportunities that I had. And, you know, when you do that to enough people, then everyone gets lifted up. And so that's kind of the mentality I have going into this. And I just want to do the best job that I can. And I think it'll be a nice, smooth transition. You know, it's a term limited office. Not all county offices are, but
Right.
the recorder's office is. So Eric can't continue. So when I was trying to decide, I wanted to get back to serving the public because I love that. That's one of the things I really enjoy about the township board. I was there for 8 years, and I've been serving as the assistant trustee, we call it clerk, for the last 3. So the last 11 years, I've really enjoyed, serving my neighbors, serving the people who needed assistance and fire services and EMS. So it's something that I want to bring, that same kind of work ethic and that same kind of looking to make positive impact to the recorder's office.
I love it. I love it. And so, Isak, listen, I know, I feel your passion, but what made you throw? I mean, this is big. Like, you didn't even you said I'm skipping state, local, county. I'm going straight for Congress. Talk about it. What fired you up to do that? Especially since the 9th district has been represented by a carpetbagger for the last couple of and he never even lived in Indiana. And it's so disgusting that people would vote for somebody to represent them. He actually never lived in Indiana. Never lived here.
Yeah. Reflecting on what Amy said, I think too often we think about running for office like it's this glorious or glorified thing, right? Mm-hmm. That it's a great opportunity to elevate one's own stock, right?
Right.
And I think that, and I mean, let's be clear, like if you're going to run for office, like you probably have in the Freudian sense, like some ego, right? Like there's you have the ability to sort of stand in front of people and you actually believe that the vision that you have for the world, that you can have an influence in shaping that, right? But like I'm not running because I'm trying to get another job or like I'm trying to.
Yeah, because it looks like you doing all right for yourself.
Yeah. It's I'm running because the issues that I care about, and the theory of change that I have, I'm absolutely thoroughly persuaded in the fact that in America, change happens when people get together. Right. And I think that we have for the longest time, I mean, being a Democrat in Indiana is like being an ant trying to move an entire elephant. Right. And I think that when we feel that way, a lot of the times we set into this sort of feeling of nihilism, right? Where it's just sort of like, why run anyways? Because, those offices, nobody's going to win them. But I'm like, I think that any time where communities get together and say, you know what, enough's enough. And this is the way that we see the world. And this is the way that we're going to get together and change it, that change happens. And being persuaded of that and understanding the things that I care about. So like, I care about making sure that all Americans have access to affordable healthcare. I think that we should be moving towards a single payer system. I care about making sure that on a structural level, we're doing immediate climate action, right? I care about making sure that we have lifelong pipelines to lifelong education, but also that we're transforming our economy into the economy of the future. Those are all federal issues, right? And so I'm not going to say those are the things I care about, so let me go run for this other office and bide my time while really positioning myself for something else. I don't see running for office as a stepladder. I see it as, what is the change that you want to affect? What are the communities that you can reach? How can you organize? How can you be effective? And then going for that, right? And so we have to be true to ourselves. And so I'm just living my truth in that way.
Are you my long lost brother or something? Cause your energy is like mine. I'm loving that. I am, because usually, I ain't gonna lie, and Amy, a lot of our, federal candidates, they come on and they be all cool. You know what I'm saying? You bringing some fire. I love it.
You know what, Dana? Like the first person I spoke to, obviously I spoke to my wife, my pastor.
Yeah, you gotta get the wife.
Like the first person outside of my immediate veto circle that I spoke to when we made this decision to run was Lee Hamilton. I work at the Hamilton Luger School, and his office is just 3 doors down from mine. And I just a cordial conversation. Said, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? And he talked to me for an hour and a half. But the thing that stayed with me is that he said that you have to love people and you have to have fun, right? He was like, if those two things are not true of this process, he says, get out of politics, right? And so I've tried my very best to be true to that commitment that I made sitting in his office there, saying, you know what, if we're going to do this, like let's do it well, and love the people that we're working for, and it takes hard work. I mean, we have 18 counties that we have to cover. It's going to take a lot more than intellect. It's going to take the hard work, right? And so I'm ready to put it in.
Absolutely. Amy, are you having fun?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I mean, he said you got to have, I know I'm having fun. So that probably makes more sense why I'm out here, doing what I do, because I'm having fun. Amy, are you having fun?
Yeah, you're getting out and you're meeting people, and I've made lifelong friends campaigning for office.
Yes.
Oh my God. Is
so,
it me?
Yes.
Is it me, or are knocking doors like the most wonderful thing ever invented in politics?
Yes.
I learned so much.
And calling on the phone. I mean, you reach some people who say, you know what? Nobody has ever knocked on my door. Right.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes that surprises us, right? Because we're like, hey, Democrats, we've been doing this, surely the Republicans have been doing this, realizing that there's so much ground to cover, right? And that politics is about people. It's about really bringing them in and understanding what they're at. And I've had so many of these really cool conversations where, the people, they always want to start, the best way to end a conversation is by calling people names, right? And so they always start off by saying, well, what party are you in? And I'll say, okay, I'm a Democrat, and then they'll sort of be like, well, I don't want to talk to you, but we'll keep talking. And by the end of the conversation, I've had so many people who are like, look, I usually vote Republican, but I've really enjoyed this conversation, right? And they're like, I consider voting for you, right? We agree on some things. And I'm like, isn't that beautiful?
Absolutely. And it seems like we have more in common than we, especially in a lot of those counties that you're in, and including Monroe County, especially when you come outside of Bloomington, there are people who are out here struggling, right? People are struggling. And if you're and we're in the recorder's office, right? And you talked about those military documents, because a lot of people don't know how they can save those things. They might lose them. And when it's time to get those VA benefits, they've lost those things, or that tuition help. They don't even know where they are. And these are the things that the recorder's office can do. Talk about some of the other things that you want to implement or try to change or improve upon in the recorder's office, so that, because I know you've heard in Monroe County some of the things that are going on and you want to see different or grow. And you may have had an amazing recorder, right? But what else would you like to do to improve it?
Well, it's interesting because, for a long time, all of the documents were just pieces of paper,
right?
And, subject to flood damage or fires or something like that. So one of the things that's been started, it's not done yet, but one of the things that's been started is to scan those documents, put them into digital format, and then even put them into a database where they're more searchable. And there's redaction for certain things that need to be kept confidential, but it's really saved continuation of service during COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, filing and digital records being able to be retrieved, there was no stopping in service there. And I think that's really important to continue that work. I'm really good with technology. I'm actually at my place of work here. I'm in the office right now, so it was just easier than
I'm in the office.
And huh?
I'm in the office too.
Yeah. Well, I've been coming to work every day throughout COVID. So we didn't do a work from home. My boss is a lead from example kind of person, and he's been here every day. And so he wants all of us here every day. And so I kind of like that, leading from the front. And so I'm our webmaster, and I'm actually working with developers right now to create a new website. I'm also the administrator for our texting platform that we do through an outside vendor. And so I'm very comfortable with technology. So if there are some things that can be improved upon as software develops and other vendors enter the market, then I'd want to, meet with them and make sure that we're staying up to date on everything that we need to do to give the best service possible. Because imagine you're a first-time homeowner, you're wanting to look at the history of the property that you're interested in buying, and you come into the courthouse, and it's a beautiful building, but it's a little intimidating to someone who's never gone in there the first time. And you may need to talk to the assessor in the assessor's office. You may need to go to the auditor's office. You may end up then in the recorder's office. And I want to make that process as smooth and easy and friendly as I can for a first-time person, as well as someone who's worked with the office for years and years.
Yeah.
So the businesses that do title search or do mortgages, I want to make it friendly, welcoming, accessible for everyone who needs to use the recorder's office. That's what I bring to it.
Y'all got me over here in tech heaven. I got 2 techies on the call today.
Yeah.
What
and I'm proud of it.
What got you off into tech?
Talking to me?
Yeah, Amy. Yeah.
I don't know. I've just always enjoyed it. It opens up whole new worlds.
Yeah.
It's not intimidating. Isak was talking about ego. I think of it as confidence and high self-esteem, and I don't take any credit for that at all. That was all my parents, encouraging me to try new things and being there for backup if I fell down. So I just always loved technology and the things that it can do and the doors that it can open. So that's why I got involved in technology. And it's just been a natural talent and skill to bring to any job that I've been with.
And what is so unique is that all 3 of us are unicorns. Isak, there are not a lot of Black people in tech. Amy, there are not a lot of women in tech. And doggone it, there sure ain't a whole lot of Black women in tech who is also a rainbow warrior, right? So the fact that y'all don't seem to understand how excited I am right now with all these techies on this call today. That's why it's seamless today. It seems to be flawless because they're sending me all of their tech vibes, So let's, we kind of got a feel for why y'all want to run. And we got a feel for the offices that you're running for. Let's talk about some of the issues. And guys, if you like what these 2 candidates are talking about, I have included their ActBlue link on this Facebook Live feed. And you don't even have to click off. If you like what they're saying and you appreciate what they're doing, go ahead and donate to those candidates because unfortunately, it does take money to win elections. So please, 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 if you like these candidates and you like what they're talking about and you want to support them, give them $5, $10, $15. It does not matter. Everything adds up and they could always use the help. Okay, so let's talk about education. We saw in Indiana this year and really across the country, the Virginia governor was elected because he was opposing a mythical academic course that was not being taught. We've seen legislation pass out of our state house that requires school boards to have live hearings and hear constituents, even though the people that passed the legislation had bills that they didn't listen to public testimony. I'm just saying. We had bills that were coming down trying to literally criminalize and add, penalties to teachers because students felt uncomfortable. We've had anti-trans bills. We've seen a whole host of bills that have come down. There was a bill that came through where, if there's a referendum in the community, they had to split that money with charter schools and public schools and all that other stuff. But we still are missing the biggest aspect of education, and that is making sure that every child has access to quality education. We still have very big differences between one district and the next district, and we still have students who have access, and COVID-19 taught us a whole lot. They don't have the same access to technology. talk about how, as Democrats, we should be doing better, or the things that we need to be doing to combat some of the nonsense that we're seeing, and the conversation that we need to have to make sure that kids are and their education attainment is really at the center of the discussion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is such a core question, and just building off of where you ended it, it's realizing that so many of the things that are getting people's attentions are exactly what you said. It's nonsense, but a lot of the time it's just distractions to keep us from focusing on the key element, which is education is a public and common good, right? And it is our responsibility to make sure that not only every child gets a good education, but that every child, even for like, what's the outcome that we're writing for, right? Like, it's not just that you go to school and learn stuff, it's that you then become a good citizen, that you then become a contributing member of society, that you learn how to navigate this changing world. So to me, from the office that I'm running for, so many questions about education are controlled at the local level, but there's so much that we can do at a federal level to dramatically shift the realities of Hoosiers right here. And a lot of that starts with funding. I think on top of all of the things that you just spoke about, we also have a critical shortage of teachers, and that's going to get worse, right? Because we're not paying them enough.
Did you right? Did you see the bill where they were like, yeah, you don't even have to know how to teach?
Thank you. Never... Talking about let's just get any more body will do. And so we need, first and foremost, to be paying teachers commensurate with the weighty expectations that we put upon them. Teachers hold the key to the future of America, and we don't even pay them living wages in some cases, right? That's a problem.
Yeah,
but the federal government can address that.
Yeah, jump in there, Amy. Talk about it.
Sorry, I was coughing earlier, so I had to make sure I wasn't on mute. No, I think that, like you said, we aren't paying teachers enough. A lot of them are retiring early because they don't deal with all the testing that's going on. Their ability to be flexible in their curriculums has really been squashed because of the testing, and the funding just for schools in general has really taken a weird turn in the last several years.
Right?
Oh yeah,
and I think too, like, let's keep the conversation focused on outcomes, right?
Yes.
There was a time when the United States was the greatest country in the world in terms of math, in terms of technology, in terms of engineering, whatever, right? Like, we were good at stuff. And right now, on almost every metric, our school system is falling behind. And so then the majority party at the local level decides, let's go focus on something else that's going to get people upset, like critical race theory or something like that even graduate students don't get, right? Like, you're like concerned that kindergarteners are learning critical race theory or something. So let's get everybody talking about that instead of focusing on the key thing, which is, what can we do to make sure that our education system in the United States is the greatest education system in the world, right? And so if we're going to continue to be the greatest country in the world, we need to have the greatest education system. But I think we also need to pay attention to the fact that we need lifelong learning. Our economy, we've been talking a lot about technology, right? Our economy is shifting dramatically, right? We're in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution, and our kids are spending more time learning how to duck and cover than they are learning how to code. That's a problem. Right? And then there's a lot of big jobs, some of the most popular jobs in America, truck driving and so on, that are being threatened by automation and artificial intelligence. And what pipelines do we have to get people trained to put them into new jobs, right? We can't just, you're not going to like stop driving a truck and go start coding or something like that, right?
Well, and Google still has some things they got to work out with that automation.
Of course.
Because they can't see, the technology can't see melanated people. So
well,
not to hit me.
Yeah. No, you're so right. You are so right, but the point is that that's happening faster. And that change in the private sector is happening a lot faster than we're responding in our public education system, right?
But and see, I want to touch on something. Isn't it interesting? America is considered a capitalist, and we are a consumer nation, right?
Right.
We consume things, so we need an income that'll allow us to consume all the things that people all over the world. We're the biggest consumer country on the planet.
Yep.
But we're not doing the things that we have to do to prepare our young people to be the money makers. And why don't they see that? Why is there such a disconnect between making sure someone has the education they need to get the job that's going to afford them to be a consumer?
Hey, but well, that goes back to what you were saying earlier about let's make America think again, right? Like when
He's got all the singers, Amy.
Right? I mean, the reality is that if we start talking about the real issues in education, then the party who's in power, I'm talking at the local level now, okay? Like at the state house, Republicans are going to have to answer to their lacking metrics, right? Yeah, so if they can keep the topic on social stuff, if they can keep the topics on, on just whatever, cats they want to point at, right? Look, there's a cat. Oh, look there, whatever they want to keep our attentions on, right? As long as we're not focusing on the fact that our education system is falling behind, then they will not be held accountable for the fact that they've made it that way.
And sometimes it's not even just education, right, Amy? So we have some of the best colleges and universities, and you guys have mentioned IDU several times. And of course, when it comes to technology, come on, y'all got to give it up. Purdue does have one of the best technology. Rose-Hulman.
I do not endorse this message.
But you know that there are good institutions of higher learning in this state. Those same people aren't talking about the fact that we lost the opportunity to have Intel in our state because we don't have the same number of college educated people in Indiana. And it's not that we're not graduating kids, we are losing kids after they graduate.
That's right.
Talk about, Monroe County is so unique. You guys are like the blue dot. Talk about, and Amy, I want you to hit on this first. Talk about the importance of Monroe County and Bloomington and that quality of life aspect that we need to take out. And first of all, Republicans, the Republicans in Hamilton County, they seem to be doing just fine. But the rest of them in our other counties are struggling. We have I think it was over 50 counties that are losing populations, and they're turning into welfare counties, but we're losing industry because of the quality of life. How do we take that thing from Bloomington, Amy, and take it to the rest of the world? First, describe what it is, and then,
Well, I mean, it's brain drain. We've talked about that for years, that we need to get the jobs in here to keep our college graduates here, giving them a job. I'm one of the lucky ones that got a job using my degree after college, but a lot of people leave because the jobs aren't here. Part of the reason the jobs aren't here is because of the infrastructure. There are a lot of places in rural parts of counties all over Indiana that have struggled with internet connection. And, the last 2 years, if it's taught us nothing else, it's taught us the need for, upping our broadband. And I think we're seeing moves in that direction, but it should have come before COVID. Yeah. I mean, we've got people who are working from home, who are attending school from home. And so if you give people the ability to work from home, they don't have to live in big cities. They can live out away from the cities and still be able to telecommute. And that improves their quality of life. And that's going to make Indiana, or workers coming to Indiana, or companies coming to Indiana, it's going to make it more attractive because they can decide the lifestyle that they want for themselves and their families. And I think that's really important for us to take a look at and continue to make an important topic of discussion.
And I think you said something important there. We should have done this before COVID. Our Lieutenant Governor promised in 2016 she was going to address, broadband, high-speed internet in rural Indiana. Seems like she failed, right, Isak?
Yeah, I mean, again, though, this is where we need strong, strong multi-layered government support, right? And that's the reason why it's great. Like I love Amy and I have been at so many events together, and the reason why it's important that people up and down and across the ballot we work together, because at the end of the day we're going to be working together. Right. And so what you want to make sure that we have, and one of the reasons why you should send me to Congress is because I work well with people, right? We need people who work well across government, right? And across all levels of government. And so I think one of the big things that we see in Bloomington, to your first question, is that and we see that in West Lafayette as well. You know, the ability to take advantage of this world-class university and to partner with the city, right, to create the infrastructure that will support an ecosystem around new technologies, around startups, and so on and so forth, right? And the better that we're able to leverage that, the better that we're able to have these public-private partnerships, the stronger that ecosystem is going to be.
And wait a minute now. Purdue and IU both are state schools, so they right. already a part of the government.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's right. And so that's where that's what I'm saying. We need public. So I first said we need nested government structures, right? So we need people across levels of government willing to work across the aisle, both with the private sector, but then with other public entities, right? What we saw when Trey Hollingsworth was in office, just as one point of observation that I'm generalizing from, okay? But when COVID CARE Act was passed, we in the 9th district got less funding than almost every other district in Indiana because our representative was not fighting for us, right? And so
he got his tax cut. He was good.
Yeah, that's right, because that's all he probably was there for. But you get what I'm saying? We need partnership, right? That's fostered across government. We don't need somebody in office who says, "Look, I don't work with people in that city." Like that, we don't need that, right? We need people who are willing to work across the society to build really strong partnerships, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running for office, and that's something that I'll provide.
I love it, and see that Trey Hollingsworth just burns my soul because literally he did nothing. He got taxpayer money. He never lived in Indiana. He didn't advocate for the 9th district. He didn't advocate for Indiana. He advocated for his daddy out of Tennessee. I mean, and it was just, I mean, y'all, we got to do better this time, right? I mean, and especially in Monroe County, we got to like turn people out. We got to get people to the polls, because I know once you get outside of Bloomington, where it is a blue bubble and it's the utopia of all Indiana Democrats, I say that jokingly. I know I got some people in Monroe County be like, Dana, could you leave us alone? But we gotta get people to understand what's in there, talk about the things that are in their interest, and it takes one at a time. And running for a county office, I think is running for county office, township office. Those are the offices where we can really have the greatest impact as we're campaigning as Democrats. Even though you're running for the recorder, I know that when you go knock on doors, Amy, or you're in spaces, they're asking you about different things, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure. I like it when they're excited and interested and engaged with what's going on in their community and in the state at large. And so I'll happily have a conversation with people about what they want to talk about, because I get to know them that way. Yeah. And when you have someone who's engaged and someone who's willing to listen, I think it's really important. And I like those conversations because I learn too.
Yes.
I learn too. So.
Oh my God, yes. I learned so much. Listen, I started out when I ran for office in 2016 as an angry lesbian over RFRA. But by the time I got through knocking doors, I was an angry Hoosier. Because it was like, we got this. Okay, yeah, that gay thing is one thing. But there's all these other things, right? And that's what knocking on doors and talking to constituents, you'll find out what they care about, right? Isak?
Yeah, and I think it's moving from... we have to move from hobbyism, right, to action. And I think that a lot of, I think what you just said, the thing that could easily be missed is that you were angry about the situation, but you didn't just stay angry, right? You didn't just stay at anger, but you said, hey, let me do something about this. And all politics is about us getting off of Twitter and getting in front of people and knocking on their doors, right? You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
It's
I had
about
keyboard
us.
warriors, honey. They kill me.
Yes,
Keyboard
yes.
warriors.
That's it. It's about us organizing. It's about us really, hearing. Let's hear what people are saying so that we can find and think about the best policies to meet those needs. Right?
I love it.
That needs to drive everything we do. So I mean, as much as you said, that it's like, I think a lot of times we have this mindset in the 9th district that it's like all the, votes for Democrats are in Monroe County. I don't think that that's true. I mean, I think that there's a lot of votes and a lot of people in Jeffersonville, in Clark County, right? I think there's a lot of people in Floyd County. I think there's a lot of people who would be Democrats if we just knock on their doors or talk to them in Jackson County, right? And so we just need to get out there and talk to people because at the end of the day, it's about our love. It's the love that we have for community, for nation, for one another that's going to persuade people, right?
I love it. Okay, so I one last thing I got to talk about because it impacts I believe every area of the state, and that is we don't do enough for mental health and healthcare in general, but mental health. A buddy of mine we were talking about. I love my dentist, and I think my dentist is great, and then it turned into, yeah, not everybody's able to go to the dentist. And I was like, yeah, that's like the first thing people sacrifice when they're trying to figure out what health care needs they have. Well, I can bypass my dentist, but we know that oral health, it contributes to so much more. Talk about the importance of dealing with access to quality health care, not just insurance, right? Because doggone it, I would rather just get rid of the insurance company and let me negotiate with the hospital myself or my caregiver myself, and we work it out. I bet prices will be a lot cheaper. But Amy, we have counties in our state that do not even have healthcare facilities.
Right.
Talk about the importance of, as from a democratic perspective, how we need to address getting people access to quality healthcare.
I'm going to back up for just a minute. One of the reasons I was asked to run for the township board was because the trustee and the board at the time had relocated fire protection and emergency medical services away from a centrally located fire department. And I know from my background that response time is really important. And so sometimes decisions are made that cater to a few people, but don't really take care of the needs of everybody. And I think it's important that you have to take into consideration what everybody needs, figure out what the needs are, do a needs assessment, if that's what it takes, a community needs assessment, and then talk about how to implement that, not only in the cities, but also out in the rural areas. I was part of a group that came for a discussion about what we could do out in our area of Monroe County. And we talked about maybe trying to have like a health fair where we could do on-site trainings and screenings out where we live, because sometimes transportation is an issue. So even if you have the health care centers in those counties, sometimes transportation is an issue, or childcare or other issues that need to be addressed. And so looking at what people need and then figuring out how to use the resources that are at your disposal to meet those needs, I think is really important.
Absolutely. Isak?
We talked about starting with first principles, right? It's amazing to me that in America we can say some really basic things and people feel like they're like radical ideas. And so here's one. Healthcare is a human right, right?
Oh my God!
Go figure. But every single one of our basic, fundamental, inalienable rights in America necessitate access to healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
And what's amazing to me is that we keep acting like it's a complex conversation. The question is simple to me. What would make most people's lives better? And the answer is a universal healthcare system. Now, from there, we have lots of choices, but a single payer system, we've already proven, works really, really well in America. We call it Medicare, right? And so we can fix Medicare and then give it to everybody. And I don't think that that's a crazy idea, because at the end of the day, the highest estimates right now for a Medicare for All plan is $32 trillion over 10 years.
Wow.
That gives a sticker shock, right? But currently, in our current system, we pay $42 trillion over 10 years. 4.2 trillion a year for our broken system that isn't even getting people the access or coverage that they need. We also need to incentivize doctors and nurses and private facilities to go into rural areas. The vast majority of people in this district live in care deserts where they have to travel more than 30 miles to get to a hospital. That's a problem, right? But now, of all of the things, to me, of all of the arguments, I think it's obvious. We've done it before. The overheads are lower. It would actually be cheaper. The best argument is that it would make most people's lives better. And we have to say that again and again and again. Because who can be against something that's going to make people's lives better?
Absolutely, and they were debating prescription drugs this week on the Hill. So I hope you when you get the opportunity, you can have that conversation. Okay, now it's Women's History Month, and I'm gonna need you guys. And Isak, I'm gonna start with you. Tell me the woman living or an ancestor who has influenced your life the most influential. And it could be anybody. It could be a public figure. It could be your mama. I don't care. You got to give me some details.
This is such it's such a softball question that when I answer it, it's going to seem like a canned answer. But I'm gonna give three. Okay. I just lost my mom, so she just recently passed away. But
Sorry to hear that.
But she spent her whole life working on humanitarian issues around the well-being and of women, and particularly around access to justice. And so my mom is the person who instilled in me a strong sense of justice and a strong hope in the fact that if we work toward anything, it can change and it can be changed. My younger sister, she specializes in issues around motherhood and what it's like to be a woman in America. Wrote a book called The Three Mothers, New York Times best-selling author. She also is the person who's always been my, sort of go-to, the person who, when everybody else says why, she says why not. But she's really shown to me just how women are just incredible. That's all I have to say. The amount of things we can do. Like I could not be a woman, and I think that needs to be, that needs to be underlined, and like God did not see it fit. Like I didn't make the cut, And then finally, of course, my wife. She the whole time, I told you earlier that I have leukemia. I'm still undergoing treatment, but the whole time I was sick, and when I was seriously undergoing treatment, couldn't get out of bed. My wife worked a full-time job, finished her PhD, and took care of a dying husband. And now we just had our first son, and she's just like, as far as I'm concerned, she's Superwoman. And so, but women, full stop, are amazing. I think we need to have Women's History Month every month, because like women's history is American history. So that's all I have to say about that.
I love it. Amy?
Well, I'm going to echo that sentiment. My mom was the number one biggest influence on my life. Like I said, she was involved and engaged in the community and took care of her family. She encouraged all of us kids to try new things and use our talents and skills and see how much we could be, reach for things and believe that we could attain them, and then again, be there when we failed. And we learned from those things too. So it was important to have that strong female role model when I was growing up. I remember another woman, when I was in the National Exchange Club. I went to my very first national convention, and there was one woman on the National Board of Directors, Barbara Orr. I still remember her name. And it was encouraging to see someone like me in that role. And I eventually got to serve on the national board, and I credit a lot of that to her giving me the vision that I could do that. When I was asked to run, I could do that because she had kind of been the trailblazer for that. And I've had lots of incredible women mentors throughout my life, both in a personal and a professional and a political area. But those are two when I was very young with my mom, and then just at the start of an organization with Barbara that had such an impact on me and how I looked at things and what I thought was possible. So yeah, there's lots of great women throughout history, and we could spend
another hour talking about how great women are. I'm
yeah,
gonna toss
yeah.
I'm gonna toss my two in because I've been doing it every week. But this week, the women that I'm gonna highlight are my best friend and her wife, my sister, Chris and Noel Allen. They moved here after they graduated from Bethune-Cookman down in Florida, and they settled in Central Indiana. And they were babies when I met them, and they're 10 years younger than me. But they have inspired me so much. Crystal now has a CPA firm that is doing bang up. This is her time of the year, right? Tax season. She's, growing leaps and bounds. And Noelle is a federal judge. I mean, these women are, like I said, they're 10 years my junior. They showed up to Indiana. They've put roots down. They have two amazing daughters. And as a couple, they've been together 20 something years. I don't even understand. I told y'all my longest relationship was with my dentist. So, Chris and Noel, I'm shouting out to you guys. Women's History Month, you guys continue to inspire me. All right, Isak, you got any events? Tell the people where they can find you, and if you have any events coming up that we need to know about.
Best place to find us is on our website, isakforcongress.com, ISAK for Congress.com. We're on all the social media platforms and same handle, Isak for Congress. We have lots of events. I've been going to events every single day, either we're hosting or attending. But more importantly, I'll say this, and they'll be either listed on our website or on social media, but if there's something that you'd like me to come to, if there's a community event or there's an issue that you'd like me to hear about, I'm an advocate for, I want to hear from you. And so you can find all my contact details, my phone number, all of those things are all online, easily accessible. So please reach out if there's any way that I can be of service.
I love it. And Amy, where can the people find you? And do you have any events coming up?
Don't have any events coming up other than not hosted by me. There's the forum on April 4th that's put on by the Monroe County Black Democratic Party and the 9th Latino Caucus jointly. So on the April 4th, it'll be recorders candidates. So I will be at that one if people want to listen to it. It'll be recorded on Cats, I think. But as far as if you want to find out more information about me, I'm on Facebook at Amy Swain for Recorder. I'm on LinkedIn at Amy Swain. Just look me up here in Bloomington. And I'm also, my website is Amy Swain with a dash recorder.com.
I love it. Thank y'all so much. See, I was doing everything I could to make sure that you got out of here at 7 o'clock. You know what I'm saying?
Rushing to another event. It's the campaign season.
I love it. Hey, you go ahead and check out.
Isak.
Thank you so much for joining in. Amy, you can hang on for just a second. I know that Isak wants to get out, but I want to make sure that I got those closing remarks in from him. Thank you so much. Okay, to all my candidates out there, have a good one, brother. To all my candidates out there who are running for office, do you need social media presence? Of course you do. Do you have the tools that you need to create a video? If you don't, you need to holler at Indiana's own Dana Black and Black Pro Studios. We will come to you. We will come to you. I will come to you. I will shoot your video. Whatever it is that you want, within reason. I'm not doing drones just yet. Okay, we're going to build it up. See, we're doing down ballot candidates, trying to keep the cost down so that everybody can take advantage of the technology that is available to them to get their message out. Also, if you do not have the ability to advertise on Facebook and you haven't set that up, don't worry. I can do that for you. There's a separate price for that but there's a way for you to target your message and get it to your voters, right? Technology is how we are going to do this. Yes, we're going to knock doors. Yes, we're going to make phone calls. Yes, we're going to host fundraisers, but there's multiple ways to reach your voters, and you need to make sure that you're tapping in to every one of those. And Indiana's own Dana Black, Turn Left, and Black Pro Studios can help you, assist you in getting that done. All right, I love it. Another fantastic show. I had tech geeks on all night, and it just did something to my spirit. Trust me, I got more great candidates coming on. Next week, it'll be ladies' night. Again, 2 ladies. There's a lot of women on the ballot. That's all I can tell you. There's a lot of women on the ballot. Indiana's own Dana Black. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will holler at y'all next week. Peace.